So as the last train was up on screen, he said, we were saying this is where you get off. You weave together such a beautiful tapestry that gives us this incredible portrait of Naples and the feeling of living in the presence of Mount Vesuvius. And you have such a unique kind of way of making cinema, or your approach to cinema. And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your process, finding the stories that you want to tell, how you do the research, and then where those stories emerge.
Yeah, and like all my projects, I started my teacher used to say, he was a big smoker like me, so he say if you write something that it's longer than what it can be contained in a matchbox, you start with a lie. So I write very little. It's more a concept of what I want to do. And then for me, the time of the film is the time of the encounters, with place, with people, to build trust, to follow, to choose the people that I'm gonna follow over these years. And then it's like a journey. I know when it starts, and I never know when it ends. So it's a long process. And by working alone as a one-person crew,
Yeah, so
it becomes.
you have the camera. You're doing sound, just so everybody knows.
I do camera and sound. Yes, yeah. And for me it's very important to create this unicity, this one element between the sound, the camera. I can understand what I'm shooting only at the moment that I put my eyes in the viewfinder, and there is like discovering a new world, a new something that you don't see on a bare eye, and it's like a scientist looking inside a microscope, and you start discovering a reality that you don't see without that element there. So for me, the camera, it's my writing process, my constructing the story, and it's very important for me to put the frame on the tripod and let things happen in front of this frame. And most of the time, like Giri used to say, Giri is my favorite photographer, used to say that what is outside the frame is more important than what is. We can start watching the film.
We're still here.
It's probably more interesting than me talking. You can watch this in a second time. You're gonna have a completely different. So let's run it. 2 hours. Nobody can leave.
So then you end up.
Why? It's like.
There we go.
I like that. I'm photophobic, so I like to be on the dark. Can you lower that? And so, yeah, I was saying what is outside the frame, it's more important for me what is inside, and what is there should be contained also what you don't see. And I think that Naples is like a big off-screen. So what you see, it's always hiding other elements, and that's what this film is. I think this film is a reflection on the suspended time. That's what I wanted to do in this film, to try to find that passage zone where there is the present that is now, there's the past, and there's a possible future in front of us. So these are the elements where the film is constantly playing.
Yeah, I mean, could you talk a little bit more about creating this sense of timelessness through, your own kind of photography and images, and the use of black and white, as well as the use of the archival footage, and the voyage to Italy. And of course, there's the sense of like the past with the archaeology, the present with how people are living, and then maybe talk about the future as well as how you envision that.
Yeah, because somehow all the stories and everything is somehow has to do with the sense of civilization, with the sense of passing the memory, with the sense of, the fire department, for example, is a huge important narration for me in this film, and this part of, Pasolini used to say that civilization starts when we all start doing something for the others. And in this film, all the people I met, all the people I wanted to focus my attention on, they kind of give themselves or to the other, to a cause, you know, like from the prosecutor to Maria to the Japanese to Titi. There's all a sense of giving. So for me, this is extremely, in this moment, you know, of a shaking world that we're all living, I think I wanted to find this element of a strength that still can give us, you know, this sense of civilization, this sense of giving each other to the others, and that somehow is an element that is conflicting with the sense of fear that comes on the film, because there's also a very strong sense of uneasiness in this film, which I also think is a universal feeling. This, you know, we live in a world that has.
We all have our Mount Vesuvius.
So this Mount Vesuvio that creates all the clouds of the world is like saying, you know, we're all living under those clouds, under those kind of feelings. So in this sense, the film has a universality which I wanted to reach, and it's very important for me always to start from one point and then having this point to become bigger than what it is, you know, to transform that in a universal element.
So you talked
and
about
that sentence of Cocteau, it's a
yeah.
very strong sentence, you know, the fact that, so to have the perception that this mountain of Vesuvio is like almost a goddess, like Shiva, that creates and destroys, you know, so this perception that, you know, these two volcanoes, the Campi Flegrei and the Vesuvio, are part of a daily life, and somehow in Naples you almost live like the disasters already happened, you know. It's like it's not, you don't ask when it's going to happen.
It's
but
ongoing.
almost to say why we didn't realize that it already happened, which is somehow also, this is a universal feeling for me, you know. I think we live in a world where we already went through a disaster and we didn't realize when that happened somehow in a way, you know. So it's all this little element of narration that for me are important, and they are present in every single character, in every story of the film. And that's why only with time somehow we are able to achieve that element of composition, no? And try to find a character that it's like in a musical writing, you know, there's an element between one note and another note. That space of silence is almost more important than the note itself, because without that silence, that note will not go on the next note. So for me, it's the same on the storytelling. That story has to continue in another story, and the story that I focus, there are only nine stories, but somehow those stories, they have to collect a universal feeling of the other 3 million people that live in Naples, and I didn't film.
And
so
feel connected
they
to
also,
each other
they
as
also
well,
to contain what I was saying before, the off-screen, you know, what is not there.
Well, I would love for you to talk a little bit more about the off-screen, particularly in your use of sound in the film, and thinking about the off-screen sound and the way that's integrated into the image.
The sound, for me, was important to create the slabs of suspension in the film. Again, as a suspended time, I knew that sound was helping me. So throughout the editing, we were using kind of sample of sound, but was not the final sound. It was always somehow a work in progress, and I never found anything that I really liked. Till towards the end of the film, I thought that was very important to put some music at the end of the film. I never use soundtrack in my work. And then I have a strong relationship with a longtime friend, Daniel Bloomberg. I think he's a genius, he's a musician and composer. And I asked him to do some work on the end of the film. And then when he saw the film, he started going like, I said, I think we have to create like a texture throughout the movie. And then what is amazing, all this was made 2 weeks, because he was working first on the Brutalist, where he won the Academy Award, and then he was working another incredible film. So I had only with him not much time. So he knew that I wanted to do with him, but I waited. At the end, we were approaching Venice, and we had only 2 weeks before the mix. And he literally came with his Oscar from Los Angeles to Rome, and he started putting himself in the film. Then he had to leave again to work on another film, and yet I knew that he was the only one able to do that, and I trusted him so much that I completely, like I said, we have no plan B here. It has to work. And in 2 weeks, I went to London. We started having a concept about the music, how to structure that, and then he worked with the incredible sax player. All this music that you hear, these sounds, is sax, and we recorded underwater. So we did first the recording in a studio in London with this sax. We just had to find a little motive that it was 3 notes, that's it, and then the rest was improvisation. Then you hear this element, this sound that record from the beginning to the end. So this was somehow the idea of the whole music. And then we went to Baia, where I shot the Lazin to do the underwater recording. So we put speaker underwater with the 5 microphone, geo microphone, microphone that recorded the rocks, the sound of the earth, everything. So comes this incredible transformation of sound again. The idea of transforming things constantly, because for me, in my work, it's very important to film, and then the element of subtraction to take off information constantly, and then the element of transformation, so to transform reality in something else. And to do this, I think the only element you can use is the language of cinema.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't care if documentary or fiction or things. For me, what is important is it true, is it false? And what is important for me is the use of cinema language, which unfortunately we are doing less and less and less, mostly in documentary. Now it's becoming a different kind of approach, which is a bit sad.
You're keeping it alive, though. We would love for your questions. If you have any, please raise your hand. Right up there.
2 questions. Were the 2 men on the beach racing in contemporary chariots?
Yes, they were training the horses for the race. So there is a racing. They're training the horse for the. There is one moment of the racing there. So when I saw that, the film always bring us, or would love to bring you into the element between present and past. And so when I saw that chariot, it looks like the Roman chariot, the same kind of the biga. I don't know how you say in English, the biga, the Roman biga. Had exactly the same structure. So in the film, we are like in the port of Pompeii there. So this element of the past is constantly breathing into the present, and this one for me was fascinating about Naples, that there's always this connection between the present, the past, and a possible future, which maybe we're already living, as I say, but that's why I say it's almost like a future perfect, the idea of a future, which something already happened, but was deserved to be towards the future. So the idea of the future perfect is a perfect for me an example of a mood of the
Right.
film.
We're always in the process of arriving.
Yeah.
And then one other question, which is, what is Italy doing about all the tomb raiding that's gone down? Have they turned anything up? Are they instituting new rules? Is that why the prosecutor is taking?
Well,
The question is about the tomb raiding in Italy,
Yeah.
which is kind of a constant.
If you dig anywhere in Naples or in Rome, you find trace of the past constantly. So this is for me is like how the past resists, the resistance of history towards the present. So everywhere you excavate in Naples, you're gonna find a piece of Roman past, of a city of Rome. So in that valley where I shot, things, it's basically people dig in their own garden, and they find a way to go through Roman walls and things. Because when we go down with the carabinieri, with the police and the fire department, the first hole that there is, that's a private garden of someone. So that they went through, and then from this digging, is arriving to find incredible things, like the prosecutor, once they find that villa had an incredible frescoes and things. They find carriage, they find everything in that villa, and this is something that is related to the criminality and to the fact that there is an enormous demand on the. I mean, most of museums they keep buying still things under things. So there is an incredible war which is hard to defeat. It's very very difficult, and I think they're getting better and better and better right now. It's something that started like maybe 20 years ago to take very serious this patrimony that we have, and it's not really been taken care of as much as it should be.
Right, I think there was one up here, and then we'll come down.
The prosecutor is one example again of giving it, because he's incredible, what he does in order to combat, say, in order to fight this as he described, this hemorrhage. This is it's like an hemorrhage of that, and then he has this incredible Napolitan theatrical expression, which is like a mask. It's like a theater mask.
Yeah.
Is like, and again, all these people, I met them by chance, and then once there was that meeting, that encounter, it became like a necessity in order to construct the film.
Right up there. Yep.
So then
And then down here, and then we'll come to Lee.
Yes.
How do you decide if an image should be like through a frame, like a window, or directly like on the subject of the image?
How do I say, to compose my frame or to shoot, to film?
Should it be through a window, like someone's witnessing something, or should it be direct, like you're actually there?
Like, how are you making those choices from frame to frame? Like, whether.
A reboot.
For me, the idea that to be invisible, it doesn't exist. When you put the camera change, it has incredible weight. The camera changed me and changed the subject. We become something else. The moment I'm there filming, I change and the persons in front of me change. So there's an incredible transformation of that. And for me, the most important thing, I think every frame is an ethical choice. It's a political choice, it's an ethical choice. And what is very important to me is the distance that you create between the lens and the subject. This is my fight constantly, to have the right distance and the right height, the right things. Scorsese used to say, there's 1,000 possible points of the camera you can choose, but only one is the right one. So that, in fact, I never understand when people shoot with 2-3 cameras, because it means they have 3 wrong frames. Because of the compromise, there's only one possible frame, and it's true, and it's the right one. And so the fight is always to find the right frame and the right distance and the right. I immediately, when I see a film, if the camera is not in the right position, I start suffering, because that there is it's like when you write, there's something, is it well written or it's not, So the frame is also that, the composition, the things, and that's why for me it's important to have a fixed frame, because in this fixed frame, then something have to happen within this frame, and there is a storytelling. Every frame you have to be able to tell a story, so it's never accidental. So the idea that documentary is moving is so real. Now they make film and they say, it looks like a documentary because the camera is moving. Why is more real if the camera? And then if you put the camera down, it's like, no, it's a fiction. Why? So it's a strange perception that we have, on framing. And for me, the truth is in the distance, the truth in documentary or whenever you film. And that's why I say, for me, what is important is the difference between true and false, and which is applied to art, to writing, to music, to any kind of expression for me. And so that's for me what I don't care really. Now this film was in competition in Venice. It's a documentary, and I like it. Probably my work was the first one with a documentary be selected in an official competition in Venice, and they broke the rule of fiction documentary. For me, that was a big achievement, because I never liked this distinction between documentary and fiction. And for me, what it is cinema, and that's the language I want to use when I work.
Thank you. Right here?
Two questions. The first question is, how long did it take you to make this film? And the second question, I noticed there were certain sections you're
filming in an old movie theater and looking at the screen in which we are projecting either old films or.
Archival footage, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So why did you make that choice of that framing of filming in an empty theater
Yeah.
and then looking
This-
at the screen in the theater?
Perfect.
So the question is about the
Yeah.
choice to screen inside the rundown theater where he's training the camera on the screen that's being projected on.
I wanted to use from the beginning archival footage, and then when I was writing or approaching the idea of this film, I was looking a lot of archival footage, and of course one of the films that I really love is the Rossellini film Viaggio in Italia, Journey on Italy, and I knew that somehow I have to use that fragment of that film there, didn't know how. And I was collecting a lot of archival footage. I've never used archival in my film except on the Pope film I did, which is mostly archival film footage. But then in this film I felt that there was need to use the archival. And also the use of the black and white for me is like converting the present into a form of archival, you know. So the present become immediately kind of a language of the archival of the past, you know, with the black and white. Black and white force you to look at things in a different way. It transforms reality somehow. So also I wanted somehow, the moment I was filming was already gone and becoming part of the past, of the memory. And I knew, I have a very good friend of mine that is a master for using archival footage, Pietro Marcello. He used archival footage as a counterpoint on his own filming. So there's a moment of film and then there's boom, that archival, and then go back to reality. And I didn't want to use it like that. I wanted to create a story. And once I discovered this destroyed abandoned theater, I thought that that was a perfect place to use the archival form, or maybe even the cinema becoming archaeological in this theater, which is part of a collective memory. No matter what the screen that don't exist anymore, they're still giving us images from the memory, from the past, you know. So the screen is still able to turn back to us the past and the images. So for me it was like a way of telling a story by the use of the archival, and in a way also by the fact that theater screen, unfortunately, they're like in Italy is a total disaster. You know, people don't go anymore to cinema. Probably also here in the States, in Europe, everywhere. And for me, this is the pity. For me, it's not so much to share a feeling, an emotion. For me, what is important when I watch a film in a theater, and the beauty of being in a theater, is like we are still smaller than what we watch. You know, and we have this incredible giant screen, and we are there smaller than what we are watching. This is the beauty of it, and we are losing that, unfortunately. And now everything's like through computer, through the people watching. I saw like no, I cannot watch it. Someone watching a film in a plane. It was and then I realized that he was watching a series, something. There were images there. And he was keep watching, like how long it takes to look at what time it is. You know? So, time is passing. Yes, it's passing. I can see the time
It's
is
still
passing.
passing.
And he was watching a video on the
That's
watch.
amazing.
So it's like, oh.
But you lose that opportunity of being enveloped. And
Well,
over.
here definitely you're bigger than what you're watching.
Great, I think we have time for one more question right here.
Then as someone also, he said, I saw your film in the phone. I said, no, really. Yeah, but it was in the bed, under real close. So the proportion, no, still is not right. Because distance, it's important.
Yes, yeah. And sound too.
And sound.
Yeah.
So you've made me want to watch it again.
Tomorrow.
We're playing it
8
tomorrow.
o'clock. You can all come back. No.
Get on the train again.
But
Get on
I'm
the-
curious, I mean, I know when you make documentaries, sometimes things emerge. How many of the fire department, the Carabinieri, the Ukrainian ship, and
The Syrian ship bringing
how
Ukrainian.
did these, what did you know before you started in terms of finding those?
Absolutely nothing, and that's what I love about the
So
documentary.
talk about the discovery of those elements.
The discovery is like it's like falling in love, you know? It's like, how can you describe that moment of falling in love? It's so difficult. But there's a moment that Calvino, for me, is always in the back of my mind. He says, the truth, the reality, is something that comes, the truth, something that comes to you and force you to turn. And the moment you turn, it's gone. So that moment is there. It's inside you. So for me, when I met the the prosecutor, I know it was him. It took me 3 years to work with him because he was so busy. But in these 3 years, I was able to create a really friendship with him. And at the end, when he was ready and I was ready, in very short time, I did it. But without these 3 years, I would never be able to film him so intimately, so close. And the rest, it's all like, you know, the Japanese, I was doing a master class in Tokyo at the university, the Tokyo University, and they will ask me, which film are you doing now? I said, well, I'm in Naples filming, you know, the Vesuvio, the thing, Pompeii. I said, oh, we have a group of archaeologists that 22 years they've been excavating there, Japanese and things. Then I met them, and they were there, this group of Japanese for 22 years, that are the detective of time, you know, that they keep going, they work on these seeds to discover the time again, you know, to give themselves into the trust of the civil, to keep the information live, you know, from the past. And then I start falling in love with the story and start following that story. And then I meet Titi in this area near the port. There are all these shops and things that they look like it stopped in the 70s, like time never changed. Or that shop, it looks like a suspended time there. And then I said, well, I want to shoot a story on this shop. Let's see what's happening. And then he said, yeah, you can come and film here. Perfect. And Titi is such a generous person. Then I went in, one after I went there, and he was working with the little girl, the 3x3, 3x. And I said, she's your niece. And she said, no, I give lesson to the kids. Like in half an hour, 30 kids were there. I said, wow, what's going on here? And I started filming that. And then I wanted a museum. The Man is one of the most beautiful museums in the world. It's really a place that each one should be in Naples only to see, if not other things, which is for me the most beautiful city in Italy, Naples. And the Man is like an incredible treasure, you know. So I say I have to shoot something here because that's like collecting the whole memory of the past. And then I met Maria, and Maria, she brought me down to this place with the torch. I said, wow, incredible. And Maria became part of the film. So everything was like discovering, and then in time they became 9, 8 stories, which I keep following in 3 years, 4 years. The story till the whole made sense, until somehow the whole became a whole story, you know, because at the end, each story goes perfectly with another one. There's no cacophony, there's no clash in between the storytelling. So somehow in a magic way, they all become part of the same structure and the same storytelling, and they don't clash, you know, the whole. And then I said, what do they have in common, all this story? And what I was saying before, you know, they all have in common a sense of devotion, you know, a sense of secular devotion, you know. There's also a pagan devotion in the film, which is another abstract moment of the people crawling in that church, which is very part of that culture too, that comes from the ancient Roman, you know. It's only there you can find it, not in the rest of Naples, that form of religion that is almost pagan, you know, and quite scary. And also somehow that is very much related to the criminality, because there's all very which I didn't want to go deep in the film. But every story in the film could have been one documentary, one and a half hour film, each story. So the thing is like how much you take out, you know, again, subtraction instead of giving more information. And that's what for me is difficult, because right now film that we see, especially documentary, they're becoming like visual Wikipedia. People try to give so much information constantly, and explain and complain. I call it explaining and complaining film. There's someone complaining, and then there's one to explain why they're complaining. So all these like things that give more information. For me, it's the opposite. I want to take off. Like Giacometti's statue, that he was betting is how much can I take off and still have this statue holding. and become like an incredible object, you know. And for me, this is the same. Like how much I can take off in information before the audience would say, I don't want to see this, you know. So to engage still the audience in their own thinking, you know, it requires a lot. A film like that, it requires a lot of trust, you know, between the audience and what they're watching and developing their own idea. My producer in France, from Arte, he said, Gianfranco, you know what's incredible about this film? After 20 minutes, I forgot I was in Naples, and I created my own world, you know, and based on my own experience, based on my own sensibility. So the film suddenly erased from Naples like your clouds, they go somewhere else. And the same made the film to me, make me go somewhere else. And that's for me what is important, that if there's like 1,000 people watching the film, there is 1,000 different perception of the film. This for me, it's a big, I'd say a big element of, that's why I keep working on that. Let's put it simple like that.
Great, a big thank you to Gianfranco for being here with us and sharing.
Thank you so much.